Welcome to the Hudson Show. Coming up, why should you be washing your shredded cheese? Also, NayNay calls in from the NFL draft. All that and more on the way next. It is the Hudson Show from RadioU. Let's start with this. Close your eyes and picture the ideal length for a movie. If you picked 92 minutes, you are the average American. According to a recent survey, that is the length of time people want to spend watching the ideal movie. That's basically an hour and a half. The very same survey found that only 2% of people wanted to watch a movie that's over 2.5 hours, and only 15% of people would watch a movie that's over 2 hours. So, we're busy people. We got stuff to do. And while I agree, I think most of the time shorter is better. Many movies, even if they are good, have some things in there that take up time that really don't need to be in there. I think everybody could benefit from a good editor, from somebody taking a swipe through and cutting a few unnecessary scenes. That said, though, I think if a movie is good, I don't really care all that much how long it is. I mean, think about Avengers Endgame, over 3 hours long. How many people were complaining about the length of that? If it's good, it's good. We'll sit through it. But 2 hours of stuff where half of it's unnecessary, that's not what we need. We've got a great episode ahead. Lots of special guests in this one. Not only does NayNay check in a few times, we hear from Nikki, but also a great interview with Zanti. It's all on the way. It's the Hudson Show. File this under something that I didn't necessarily know this was a crime, but I guess it's good that it is. A couple in Florida has been arrested for trying to forge a winning lottery ticket. What they did was they took a $50 winning lottery ticket. Most people would be pretty happy with that. And they tried to pass it off as a $1 million winner. It says that they've now been charged with forgery/alteration of a lottery ticket with intent to defraud, passing a forged/altered state lottery ticket, and larceny grand theft of $100,000 or more. They threw the book at this Florida couple, and you got to admire, right, the audacity of this couple, the confidence that they're like, why hasn't anybody thought of this before? You know, that's a winning lottery ticket, right? Yeah. For $50, right? Yeah. Why don't you just put like 6 extra zeros after the 50? It's already a winner. They just have to give us what it says, right? So just make it say 50 million. Have you been washing your shredded cheese? You should be, at least according to Tasting Table. They pointed out that many brands of shredded cheese use anti-caking agents such as potato starch, powdered cellulose, or tapioca in their shredded cheese, which they say leaves you with two options. Either you can buy bricks of cheese and shred them yourself because that doesn't contain the anti-caking agents, or you can wash your shredded cheese. Yeah. Or there's a third option, which is just keep eating your shredded cheese the way it is. Because honestly, when was the last time you ate something with shredded cheese in it and went, what, did you put potato starch in this? We're in the midst of Would You Rather Wednesday. Today's question came from Leo, who asked, would you rather live in the Lord of the Rings universe in Middle Earth or live in the Star Wars universe as not a main character? You're just an extra. 8772 RadioU. You can chime in with your thoughts. Here's what some people are saying so far. We have Jeff, who says living in Middle Earth would be more wholesome and feel less dangerous than Star Wars. We also heard from Regina, who says it's tough. The outfits are awesome in Lord of the Rings. Are they? But I'm more familiar with Star Wars and they can fly, so I'll go with that. I don't. What do you mean, fly a spaceship or the Fets or whatever, the jetpack? But Regina wants to go in one of the more peaceful times. That is something, a thread I'm seeing is that people feel like Star Wars would be a dangerous world. I mean, there's lots of people that live in the Star Wars world that are able to coexist pretty peacefully, right? Susanna says Middle Earth, again, seems much safer with plenty of fresh air. Now, that's true. And no Death Stars looming ominously overhead. Also, better food. Some of the other answers coming in. Matt said flying a spaceship in Star Wars would be infinitely cooler than anything you could ever do in the Lord of the Rings world. So it sounds like he's going with Star Wars. But then we also heard from Irene, who said, I'd love to live in the Lord of the Rings universe as a hobbit. it's, magical, peaceful times with elves and hobbits. What else could you ask for? I don't know. That it doesn't sound great to me. First glance, I'm more into Star Wars. I feel like that. I kind of agree with Matt. The spaceship thing seems much cooler. I don't know, though. You also have to think, if you're off to the side of some character, are you like a human still in Star Wars, or are you some kind of weird alien? Because that could tip things in Star Wars favor or against it. All I know is hobbits. I guess that wouldn't be that big of a switch for me. I already have pretty hairy feet. We heard from Matthew, who says, I'm actually going to cheat and live in Star Trek. Now, that sounds like that could be okay. With the Star Trek and Star Wars, there's so many planets that, like, whichever planet you would wind up on would vastly change how good your situation would be. I mean, think about being on Star Wars in Hoth. That's the snow place. Actually, really, I mean, a lot of the planets in Star Wars kind of suck. I'm sure in Star Trek, which, again, I'm not as familiar with. Some of them aren't as great either. Camden says going Star Wars all day, probably because I've never seen Lord of the Rings. So that's fair. Caleb just says simply, definitely Lord of the Rings. And Regina, some clarifications. He says the ladies' outfits in Lord of the Rings are prettier. And that, actually, I can get behind, because you don't want to be looking like Padma, Queen Amidala. Is that her name? From some of the prequels in Star Wars. She also doesn't want to live in a time where made miserable by a tyrannical regime. So there you have it. That's Would You Rather Wednesday. Would you rather live in Star Wars or Lord of the Rings? I'm kind of getting pulled over to the Lord of the Rings side here. I might have changed my mind. An unusual development here in Would You Rather Wednesday. If you've got about $9,000 or so, you could be the owner of a flame-throwing robot dog. That is available now, seriously, for sale from an Ohio-based company called Throwflame. The dog they call the Terminator, coming in at a price tag of $9,420. And obviously, there's some serious questions raised by this, like, how is that legal? It doesn't seem very safe. It also raises the question for me that I thought robots, like, if we're going to make them, it seems like we should be making them for things that would be difficult for humans to do. That would put humans in positions they would rather not be in. This robot dog with a flamethrower, one position I'd love to be in is just holding a flamethrower. I don't need a robot dog to do that for me. I would love somebody to put a flamethrower in my hand. Tonight, the first night of the NFL draft, a day so many people look forward to. In fact, our guy NayNay from the afternoons, he's going to be there in Detroit in person for the NFL draft, our NFL draft correspondent. The NFL draft, it's a lot of fun, but every time the draft comes around, I'm always struck by how so many players that are, waiting to be drafted, it's so much uncertainty for them. If you're not Caleb Williams or one of the very, very top guys that knows you're going to be picked really early, you have no idea what city you're going to wind up in, what your situation is going to be. Now, granted, for a lot of guys at the top, their landing is going to be pretty soft no matter where they go because they're going to get a pretty sweet contract. But at the same time, you, wherever you wind up, are going to be in probably an unfamiliar city with a bunch of people you don't know and forced to prove yourself from day one. And that's the guys at the top. Forget about the guys that are on the fringes of even being drafted. It's a lot of uncertainty to have all swirling in one day for so many people. But while we may not face that kind of uncertainty, that extreme uncertainty that players waiting to be drafted in the NFL are, we experience uncertainty every day as well. Maybe in your life, you're going through a situation where, graduation's coming up. What are you going to do after you graduate? Is your boyfriend going to break up with you when he goes to college? Or are you guys going to try to make it work long distance? What's your job going to be? All this stuff. There's so many things swirling that could be going on in any of our day-to-day lives. And how do you deal with all of that uncertainty? Because there's just so much stuff you cannot plan for. Well, what I found is that when you have a relationship with Jesus, that can guide you through so many things, because while the situations may not be determined yet of what things are going to look like a week down the road, a month down the road, or even further, that if you've got Jesus, he's going to be there riding with you, taking care of you, and a support system for you no matter what you're going through. God wants to be that for you, to be a support system every single day through all of life's uncertainty. And if you want that, all you need to do is ask. Say, hey, Jesus, I want that. There's a lot of things swirling around in my mind. I don't know how things are going to turn out, but I just want to know I can count on you through it all. And he'll help you out. If you want to know more, RadioU.com/free gift. A man pretended to have cancer so that he could cheat on his girlfriend.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
At least that's what a woman from New Zealand is claiming. She says that her boyfriend at the time said that he had bone cancer, and he was using that, she later found out, as a way to get away from her for longer periods of time so he could go find other women that he was, canoodling with, or however you want to put it. Now, I don't want to victim blame, but here we go. How long? I understand at first if somebody tells you have cancer, you're not going to go, but are you sure that you have cancer? Even if it is your boyfriend. But how long do you let this go on before you're like, hey, you want me to, come to the hospital with you or anything like that? But you can understand why she was fooled, because apparently, according to her, he went so far as to shave his head to kind of prove that he had cancer. Eventually, she did catch him because he initially had said he had bone cancer and had kept that up for a while. And one time he slipped up. He said he had skin cancer. That started raising some suspicions. Eventually, she was able to find him out. Now, let's turn to the real villain of the story. The guy who was lying about having cancer so he could cheat on his girlfriend. Dude, if you want to cheat that bad, why are you in this relationship? Just get out of it. What are you doing? We're talking things you thought you wanted until you got them. You can chime in with your thoughts at 8772 Radio U. We heard from Jamie, who says, my Keurig, I barely use it, even though I bought it thinking being able to make coffee at home would be really cool, until I had to make it and realized it's a lot of steps. Jamie, if you think making coffee with a Keurig is a lot of steps, wait till you use any other kind of coffee maker. But that is a good answer. Gabe says, and this is so true, breaking a bone when you're a kid, it seems so cool to have the cast and everybody sign it, whatever, until you can't use your arm or you're on crutches. That is 100%. Tim got in. Tim says a really big house, can't hide money. There's so much maintenance, expense, keeping track of all your stuff, higher utility bills, more taxes, probably an HOA, cleaning it without hiring professional. I mean, I'm with you, Tim. You've talked me out of it. I don't want a big house anymore. And Leo, this is great. Leo says, getting back with an ex. Simply, you broke up for a reason. I love that. Nikki, you've gotten acupuncture before, right?
Yeah, I used to go all the time.
When was the last time you went?
I think I stopped right around COVID time, because then that also fell under it's expensive and nothing pays for it. And is it that much that I needed? So I think I stopped around then.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if you were still going, because I feel like this is something that I mean, it seems like it can only happen with an acupuncturist. And that is, there's a person that was getting acupuncture done in Iowa. And at some point, while all the needles were in them, the acupuncturist left, went home, and took a nap, leaving this person stuck with all the needles while they were lying down. Whatever.
New fear unlocked. I didn't know that's not the acupuncture fault. That's the acupuncturist. I mean, what other kinds of like medical things could you go through where the doctor would do that? I don't think that's very. No, I mean, I've seen people like locked in at urgent care overnight, like they left them in the room. I've seen tons of stuff like that, but I'm sure in some other medical thing. But it's hard because when you get acupuncture, you're supposed to remain calm, very relaxed, and very quiet, and you're not supposed to move, but like it's only supposed to be like 30 minutes, and then no one's coming back for you, so you'd start to move around.
And if you're just lying there, you're not looking at your phone, you can't see the time, so you're just thinking like you're doing.
I still looked at my phone. Hudson.
You do.
Come on.
I don't feel like that's in the spirit of what acupuncture is about, but
it is.
You have to like do the mental calculation, like. Am I the one that's wrong? Have they not been gone that long? Should I just be sitting here enjoying this? Like, when do you finally start? And then I feel like I don't even know, depending on where the needles are, could you even like move your mouth to shout for help?
Well, the needles can go anywhere in your whole body. So like you should not be moving and then you yourself are talking down to yourself like, just relax, will you? It's not been 12 hours since they left you, and they have.
Yeah, it's supposed to be relaxing. You're supposed to lose track of time. That's how it's supposed to work. So
did they come and get them, or how long did it say they had to stay?
Let's see. How long did they have to stay? How
long was a lunch or a nap for this acupuncturist?
I mean, it must have been a while, but I don't actually have, let's see, an hour and a half for the doctor to return.
That's a bit long.
Yeah.
That is a bit long. Guess who gets free acupuncture?
Well, think about this too. That he was at home taking a nap. So they said they tried to call him by phone and still weren't able to reach him.
Oh, no, that's awful.
Yeah.
That is a good point, though. Maybe making sure if you're doing something, you at least always have the cell phone number of the person who's just left you.
Yeah, that's right. I think, well, for acupuncture, too, I can picture like they might run their own practice or whatever. So he's the only one in the whole building that knows how to take the needles out and whatever. That's a dangerous game right there.
And you're there with some weird track of like meditation, relaxation music, and no one hears your silent cries.
This is the kind of insight this is why I brought you here today.
Yeah, you don't want to. It's not for you, Hudson.
No, it's not. If you ever run into issues at the workplace, send them our way. We're happy to help here at the Hudson Show, 8772 RadioU. In this case, we have someone who writes in, not sure if this counts as fired or hired, but I have a coworker who I don't see very often. We work in different departments. About 5 months ago, we were chatting it up, and I told her a personal story that happened to me a few years ago. I was talking to her again last week, and she casually retold my story as her own, near word for word verbatim. Now I'm questioning everything she has ever told me, if it really was her own experience or if she was taking other people's stories as her own as well. She told the story literally almost exactly as I told it to her. Well, clearly this isn't like she can't be fired for this, right? But what do you do? How do you even ever have a conversation with this coworker again? If you've got any good advice for this situation, 8772 RadioU for this fired or hired case of stolen identity in a way at the workplace. We get some good responses coming in. William says, retell your story to her a second time and see what she does. I like that. Mess with her a little bit. We also heard from Evan, who says she's probably always stealing other people's stories, so she doesn't even remember that it was yours. So I'd start telling ridiculous stories to her and let her start using those. I like that too. And just like up the ante, make them crazier and crazier until maybe even she's like, I'm not going to retell that. There's no way it's true. Can I say that I actually kind of like that this woman is retelling the stories? I don't mind that, but I do think if you're going to do it, you've got to, I think you've got to know where you got to have a Rolodex or something. If you want to be a more interesting person by stealing other people's stories, you are lying, but I don't have a huge problem with it. The only problem is if she's retelling your stories as her own, then what if she tells one of the stories you told her before you get to tell it to somebody else, and then when you retell it, it sounds like you're the one lying. That's where you run into some issues. So I say I like the advice from William and Evan. Just start telling ridiculous stories, reusing the stories that she's told you back to her. And you said you don't talk to her that much. And I would say if you're the type of person that steals stories, just make sure you don't retell them in the same place where the person you stole them from is. Follow at RadioU Official on TikTok, at Hudson RadioU on TikTok as well. But you have a limited time to do that, perhaps, because yesterday it happened. It's official. President Biden signed the legislation that will ban TikTok if its parent company ByteDance doesn't sell it. And it does have a fairly long runway. They've got an entire year to go ahead and sell their interest in TikTok before a ban would actually go ahead and take place. However, the ban, it's a ban. It's not like when Flappy Bird, if you remember that, got taken out of the App Store. It would become illegal for internet services to support TikTok, and the app would be stricken from all of the app stores as well. So it would completely pretty much disappear, it sounds like. But we do have an entire year to work on this. Hopefully, I think for most people, what we want is just that ByteDance sells and we can continue using TikTok and having fun. But alternatively, it's time to start thinking. You've got a year to start working on the future of where you want to go instead. Of course, there's YouTube Shorts, there's Instagram Reels, which aren't as good. They're just not the same. Some are saying maybe we should bring back Vine. We're in the midst of useless knowledge. Today's useless knowledge question of the day, all about Lamborghini. Since this weekend, Ferruccio Lamborghini, the founder of the Lamborghini company, would be his birthday if he were still alive and with us. The question is, Ferruccio Lamborghini and the Lamborghini company started making a different product than what most people know them for today, which is cars. It's a product they still make to this day. What is that product? We heard from Danielle, who guessed clocks, which is a good guess. However, it is wrong. We also heard from Susanna, who says Lamborghini is Italian, so the answer must be pasta machines. What? I think that's offensive. There's more to Italians than pasta. But we did hear a few folks actually get this one right, including Andrew and Josh, who I think texted the answer in before I even stopped asking the question. The correct answer is tractors. And that's not all that Lamborghini makes either. Do you care that to this day, Lamborghini also makes wine? Now, they started making wine after Ferruccio Lamborghini retired from the car business and went to live on a very big estate and started making wine as well. That's your useless knowledge for today. Happy birthday to Ferruccio Lamborghini. Maybe buy a Lamborghini to celebrate. Get your popcorn ready. It's our weekend tradition here on the Hudson Show, where we let you know what's new that you could be watching in theaters or at home when it comes to movies. This weekend, I will be honest, not much new when it comes to streaming. However, some interesting releases at the box office. We'll start with Challengers. Zendaya finally gets to play an adult, a grown woman. Tashi, a tennis player turned coach, who has transformed her husband from a mediocre player into a world-famous Grand Slam champion. To jolt him out of his recent losing streak, she makes him play a challenger event close to the lowest level of tournament on the Pro Tour. Tensions soon run high when he finds himself standing across the net from the once promising, now burnt out Patrick, his former best friend, and Tashi's former boyfriend. The critics seem to like it. 91% on Rotten Tomatoes. They call it a kinetic and sexy romp on the court. That'll likely be number one at the box office when everything's said and done this weekend. But other interesting options. In fact, this one seems very interesting to me. I've seen the trailer for it. Unsung Hero. When David Smallbone's music company collapses, he moves his family from Australia to the United States to search for a brighter future. With nothing more than their 7 children, a bunch of suitcases, and their love of music, David and his pregnant wife set out to rebuild their lives. Critics not quite as crazy about that one. It's got a 60% from the critics, but a 100% from the audience. It's being called a soul-stirring testament to the power of family and faith. That also, Lecrae, I believe, made a song with For King and Country. The movie's about For King and Country. The band, we play them on RadioU Fusion, and Lecrae teamed up with them for a song for the movie. So that should be interesting. Finally, Boy Kills World. Boy is a mayhem machine who's been training to assassinate the bloodthirsty Hilda Vanderkoy and avenge his family's murder. Guided by his sister's mischievous spirit, Boy uncovers one stunning revelation after another as he barrels towards Hilda, starring Bill Skarsgård. The critics for that one on Rotten Tomatoes, 63%. They say Boy Kills World may offer just enough action thrills to offset its thinly written characters and predictable plot. Ooh. That doesn't sound great. So there you have your options. If you get out and see anything good this weekend, let me know at 8772 RadioU. We'll see you at the movies. Gardeners are using urine on their plants You heard that right. An emerging trend in the gardening community is using human urine as an alternative to fertilizer because not only is it cheaper, but also recent studies have tied the efficiency of urine fertilization to notable success with tomatoes, cucumbers, cabbage, and beets. Good thing I don't eat any of those. Now, before you go whizzing all over your garden, you should know that the urine needs to be collected and diluted before application, or it could cause damage to the plants. Sounds like saving my pee is finally going to pay off. NayNay is joining us from Detroit. NayNay, you attended the NFL draft this weekend?
Oh, boy, did I ever. I'm telling you, the Cowboys are back. I saw they drafted Tyler Guyton. I saw it with my own two eyes from a TV screen.
Wait a minute. Hold up. You said you were going to be in person at the draft. You told me it was free.
It is free, Hudson. Let me tell you. Let me break it down for you. So I went and signed up. I had my QR code ready to go, and as we were getting ready to leave, I got a notification on my phone that said the draft is full.
Oh.
And I was like, oh, no. Wait, so you mean like I can't go? And I was like looking at everything, and sure enough, I saw in the crowd how packed it was. It was more packed than I went there a few years ago, and I said, you know what? I guess I'm just going to have to miss it.
Oh, my gosh. So what are they doing? How can they give out QR codes and entrance to people and then not know how many people can fit?
It's in Detroit, Hudson. It's those Lions fans out there. You can't trust them. You can't trust the Lions fans. They're trying to keep everything out of the Cowboys' point of view.
Jeez, that's a bummer. So I know that it was a big point for you to try to get some social posts like on TikTok and whatever. Did any of that work out even though you couldn't go to the actual in-person event?
So what we ended up doing instead is we just went to a Topgolf. We ended up watching the entire thing from there. And I'll tell you what, there were Cardinal fans to my left. There were Lions fans to my right. And the Lions fan came up to me and he said, "What are you smoking wearing that Dak Prescott jersey?" And I said, "Oh, don't you do that to me, my brother." I'm telling you, they wanted to smoke. They really did.
I mean, the Lions, geez, they win, 2 playoff games, and all of a sudden they think they're hot stuff.
Exactly. They don't even win a Super Bowl. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I wouldn't be talking a lot of smack if my quarterback was Jared Goff. So, like a good time, though? Are you fired up? What did they pick, an offensive lineman?
Oh, yes. We took an offensive lineman. It was beautiful. We need someone to protect Dak Prescott because I still believe he'll be our quarterback.
I'm in the same boat as you. You know that I have split allegiances right now. I'm cheering for Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, but I'm cheering for the Packers. They both also took offensive linemen. So not exactly the most exciting pick you can make in the first round, but it's probably the smart choice.
I was shocked to see how long it took. Wait, did a running back get picked at all yet? Like, how long did it take?
I don't know if there's any first-round running backs. No, I don't think so.
I think there was. Bro, all I'm saying is the Chiefs finally got their wide receiver. I saw that Xavier Worthy dude.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. How did the Bills let that fall?
That's pretty wild. What did you think, though? The big shock was Michael Penix Jr., the quarterback from Washington, picked number 8 by the Falcons, who just signed Kirk Cousins. What do you make of that deal?
You should have seen the reaction at the Topgolf when that pick was made. I think the couple bays that were beside me, they were like, "Uh-oh, early retirement for Kirk Cousins."
Yeah.
It was hilarious.
If Aaron Rodgers was mad when the Packers picked Jordan Love, Kirk Cousins has to be like through the roof upset. That is ridiculous.
The only difference is Kirk Cousins isn't going to go out and win an MVP after it happens.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. All right, NayNay, you're going to make it back for Fusion this weekend?
Yeah, I'll make it back. You know, I'm probably going to start driving in here in a little bit.
All right. Well, I'm glad you got to kind of get out there for the draft. It sounds like you had a fun time either way.
I tried. All right, I tried.
We have a special guest. He's making moves. It is Zonti. Good morning, Zonti. Good to talk to you today.
Good. What's good, bro? I'm grateful to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes, thank you for taking some time out of your busy schedule. I can tell, Zonti, I want to start with this, that you are a busy guy. Constantly, it looks like you're on the grind. But I want to know, even the hardest workers have to have some downtime. I want to know, when you are not making music, what is it that you do to unwind? What does Zonti leisure time look like?
I like that. I'm usually playing basketball with my homies. I'm at the gym or I'm on Call of Duty. So we usually jump on and run Resurgence.
Nice. That's awesome. So if you're hopping on Call of Duty, you might be playing against Zonti. You never know.
For real, you might be in a lobby with me.
All right, Zonti. Obviously, though, you are a hard worker. All your hard work has paid off. I just saw that you got signed recently to Atlantic Records. So let us know. That's a huge deal. How did you celebrate such a big accomplishment?
Man, it was a massive moment. The actual conversation meeting happened a while ago, right before I went on my first headline tour, which was in November last year. So I was having conversations with them, starting that process, and the celebration of that big news was get on the road and start doing shows. So it wasn't public yet, but when we knew internally as a team, like this is about to happen, a lot of that energy went on stage. So my performances every night, I mean, already I give 1,000%, but my performances every night, that was a little bit of an extra boost. Like, man, this is on the way. It's going to change a lot of things. And so my celebration was definitely tour. And then the deal like finalized in January of this year.
Right.
Again, we didn't announce until more recently, but the kind of celebration of that is more shows. I had some back-to-back bookings, and again, I just went and did those. It was like celebrate with my family. We got emotional, prayed together, and just like thank God for everything that we've done. And then I went to the airport.
I love that. And it's so emblematic too of you that celebrating a big occasion is. I mean, shows are fun, but that's still work. So work and prayer. Yeah. That feels so fitting for you and who you are.
I mean, one of my favorite things that's inspired me, I saw in the documentary, The Redeem Team, which is about like Kobe Bryant, LeBron, all those dudes being on the Olympic team.
Yeah.
And there was this one conversation that always sticks out to me. Everybody's coming home from the club at like 4 a.m. And in the lobby, they cross paths with Kobe Bryant carrying his shoes on the way to the gym. And for me, it's like, man, I want to be that guy. I want to be the one who, you know, in the moments where most people would take their foot off the gas, I'm just going back to the gym. And it keeps me grounded so I don't get the highs and lows. Because like if I have a consistent focus, then even at the highest highs, I know I'm showing up again the next day to be disciplined. And then the lows, they can't get you either.
Absolutely. So, I mean, a big moment, it's always going to come with its naysayers. I noticed on your, I guess all of your socials, after you announced the signing to Atlantic Records, there's a lot of people hopping in the comments saying stuff like this is you selling out. They're worried about that, which to me feels, I'll say, a little unfair because you haven't even had a chance to do a whole lot with Atlantic yet. But at the same time, people have reasons to worry because they've seen other artists, Christian artists, sell out. So what would you say to people that are concerned about that? What would you say to address those worries?
I think the biblical answer is you'll know a tree by its fruit, right? So just keep watching how I live. And if you watch my fruit, you'll be able to tell if I switch up. And that's not going to happen. I have accountability around me. I'm focused. I'm locked in. But I think also what I would say is I'm being the artist that younger me needed. I needed to see somebody who made it and did it for God. We see a lot of athletes like that, you know, shout out to people like CJ Stroud or like John Jones or, you know, guys like Tim Tebow, where you see them very publicly winning and then pointing to Jesus. I think in the music game, we don't see that as much. And I needed that as an artist growing up. I needed to look and be like, man, that's somebody who's in these environments but doesn't compromise. So it's really the biggest part of my vision and my mission to stay focused and be like, I want to get to the finish line, you know, headline arenas and win awards and be successful and always be about Jesus Christ. I'm never selling my soul, bro. I'm very aware of what that looks like in the industry. I've seen behind the scenes and I know how to avoid it, and it's not going to happen. I promise you that.
I love that. And you got to think too that that this is being hard work and God first is what got you here. So why change now? Even though you've got the big deal, why change now?
Just gotta work harder, bro. I tell people it's the best analogy. I love sports. If you haven't already figured that out, especially basketball. And for me, it feels like 2017 till kind of like my first couple of deals felt like high school ball. It was like, I got to be All-American. I got to get, noticed. And then I feel like my recent record deal and putting out Stonebrook Project, and we already won, is like having great NCAA seasons. I felt like I was winning in March Madness and just killing it. And now this moment is me being a number one draft pick. It's me getting into the league. But it would be stupid to get into the league and then kick your feet up. It's like,
yes,
the journey is long, but if you pace it in those seasons, it's like now it's really time to turn up. I got to have a great rookie year. That's why I wanted to do the Rookie of the Year tour in the summer, because for me, more than anything, it's for myself. Like, this is your rookie year, your rookie season. You gotta show up. You gotta give your all.
Yes, talking about the Rookie of the Year tour, it's coming up this summer. Let people know what they can expect. What's going to make this Rookie of the Year tour real special for your fans?
I feel like after experiencing my first headline tour last year, it was much simpler. It was like, just me on the stage pouring my heart out with the fans. And I feel like seeing how engaged they were, I cried almost every night, bro. It just is a surreal feeling having people listen to your music and then singing those words and showing support. So this year we're turning up. The stage production, the lights, the screen, the smoke, all that stuff is going to be bigger. Obviously our live performance is going to be even more high energy. We're performing a lot of new songs that weren't out yet at that time. So everybody's favorites from the new album, and we'll do a longer set as well. So everything, I'm just trying to scale it and like turn it up a notch and have an even crazier experience. And we're hitting a lot of cities that have been in my comments for a long time. Like, please come here, please come here. So a lot of people who haven't had an opportunity to be to a Zonti show yet, this is going to be their first chance. So please don't miss it. Tickets at zonti.com, and they're on pre-sale right now. So I think for like a week or so more, people can get them on sale.
Yes. Looking forward to it, man. Hey, listen, yet again, you're working so hard. So thanks for taking some time out of the busy schedule and spending some time with us on RadioU today. We love what you're doing.
Man, you guys have always shown love to me. I really appreciate it. And I would love to continue building this relationship, bro. Keep advancing the gospel the way y'all are, man. You guys inspire me as well.